Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I'm one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts,
Archlector George,
and Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We are covering Before They Are Hanged, the second book in the original trilogy. Today we'll be covering Small Crimes, Rain, and Bloody Company. So let's get started. Again, just want to thank you all for your continuous support. You know, the usual, right? George, you want to say anything? Anything new coming down the pipeline?
not at the moment. I know our Adeptus Historical is working on good fucking videos. Very much.
Yes, he is. Doing
Yeah,
good
thank
boy,
you.
Harrison. You good boy, you good boy.
I've been working on something special, so that's why there hasn't really been many other YouTube videos, because I've been spending my time trying to learn how to edit some different things, which is painful but very satisfying process. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it when it comes out. Just be patient.
Patience is a virtue. Yeah, we will be continuing those segments too. What were those segments? The audience chamber. Things have just been a little bit crazy. Personal lives have been topsy turvy. Think we could say, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and start with our first chapter read through, since we're doing 3 chapters today. Small Crimes, and this chapter starts off with.
I can't even keep it straight.
We're already laughing.
we finally reached it, boys. We've been looking forward to this day since we started the pod.
Which one?
This chapter.
Fucking Ladislaw.
Okay. We got it. We got it. Well, we're here. This chapter starts off with West's point of view, right? And he's standing with Crown Prince Ladislaw, and they're observing, what would you say, their frozen army.
Yeah.
And
And they're just absolutely fucked, aren't they? Like, half of them don't have clothes. They're just like standing around under trees with no tents or anything. And it's just like, oh,
It's so sad.
this is not a good situation to be in.
Cold,
Yeah.
Connor West.
Right? Like, West sees this, right? He sees that the levies are not doing well. Like you said, George, they're not dressed. It's like a nudist colony, but no one volunteered.
Yeah.
But Ladislaw, he's just oblivious to everything except for his own martial prowess. You know, he's good. He thinks he's done all that needs to be done to become a great general, right?
Yeah. And I love how West is just like in the process of going, actually, you know, I don't know about this. And he goes, yes, good and fit, chomping at the bit. It's like,
Yeah, he's like, yeah, sure, the king's honor in good shape, but you're left. And he's like, no, yes, chopping at the bit, Colonel.
Damn shame we have to wait here, kicking our heels behind this damn river.
yeah. And I can imagine West just like rubbing his temples, just saying,
He's just
that, like,
like,
oh, fuck.
And to be clear on where they're positioned at, they're at the Cumnor where Lord Marshal Burr had wanted to position them. They're behind the river, but they're like right on the banks of the river, where it's all muddy and shit. Like there's no organization, no plan. They're just all smushed up against the river, just sitting there.
Yeah.
Right. And Ladislaw's groupies are just as bad as he is, right?
Yep, and this is it. Like he's surrounded by yes men.
And he's just
Everyone's just like, well done, you did really good. This is a really good place to sit and absolutely do fuck all.
West is literally holding, like, he's begging all the gods that might exist in the First Law that Bethod is not going to come near them. You know, he's just like, please, I can't. And they talk about how great war is, right? And how
No, he's like cold, not much like the deserts of Gurgle now, eh, Colonel? He's like, no, Your Highness. He's like, but some things are the same, eh? I'm speaking of war, West. War in general, the same everywhere. The courage, the honor, the glory. You fought with Connor Glockton, didn't you?
He's just like, yeah. Yeah.
this is the best part. He's like, how awesome Glockton was. It's such a shame that he died.
And he's like, dead. He's like, Connor Glockton isn't dead. He's like, what?
He's not.
And then he goes, yeah, he joined the Inquisition.
The Inquisition.
And the
Why on
prince is
earth would a man give up soldiering life for that?
He's just baffled by this idea. He's like, oh. And then they return to the topic of war, right? And then, Ladislaw is like pouting. Ladislaus pouting about holding their position. And then he asks about the Northmen, Three Trees group. And this man is all over the place with where his mind is going to at this point. And then West can't take it anymore, obviously. So he says, I got a lot to do. So he's out. He bounces.
Well, you forgot George's favorite line.
Oh, which one?
Yeah, West is like, of course, an excellent idea. He's like just like letting him ramble on. And the Prince Ladislaus like, yes, prepare an attack. Sweep them
back across the border.
And it would not be the same without Pacey. Like even that part where he was like, "I'm talking of war," Carter.
Yeah.
That part, there's a delay where it sounds like you think he's about to talk about like how rough war is and everything. War's the same everywhere, and he says the courage, the honor. You're like, what? What are you talking about?
I love how he just absolutely forgets that he just, that Colonel Glox is still alive, or Glox is still alive. And he's like, damn shame he's dead. Like, I literally just told you.
He's about to walk.
Yeah,
to walk
right?
away.
Right. Well, first, like, damn shame that bloody Bethar won't be coming this way. Little better than guard duty. And then about Colonel Glock and so forth. Damn shame he's still fucking. Oh.
This is. I just. Pacey just goes all out with this accent, and there's so much flavor in it. Just reading it, you're like, oh, that's kind of fun. Oh, that's ridiculous, or that's annoying. But when you hear it, it's just so much fun.
He's just having so much fun with it. He's having so much fun with it. Oh, so West, he has to leave. He's gonna lose his mind if he stays with Ladislaus any longer. So he's looking through. Like, I guess you could say he's like inspecting the army, but not really. He's not like calling anybody for inspection. He's just walking around.
No.
And he observes that Croy and Polder have the better trained levies, and he's obviously worried about the ones that are hit in his company. This is like just how disorganized are these guys? Like, shouldn't Burr made sure that they were as well supplied as possible?
Yeah,
Well,
Burr does lose a few points for that.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: is that they do have one very well equipped division. That's the King's Own.
Right. They had I'm talking about the levies. That's what.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is that those levies are. It's like what they used to do. George probably knows more better than I do. Back in Europe, right? You gather the levies. Sometimes you didn't equip your own levies. They came with their own equipment, right? So they got the worst of the bunch. Should have Burr sent them, made sure that they were organized and stuff and had more things. Yes, but at the same time, they couldn't have done much better. They already came with what they had, and that's like the rule of war with them, I guess. The levies come with what they get.
It's generally like the lords in the army, and this is probably like Ladislaus' staff. It's not mentioned, but the organization, you're absolutely right, would be like more divided. So the people that brought the levies look after the levy.
Yeah,
and they're ultimately in charge of them.
And plus, if you think about it too, is that the big thing with the levies, especially up here in this big war, is the fact that the Lord's Round is pissed. So they sent crap troops anyways, and so they got the worst of the worst that the Union probably has ever had to offer going into war.
Yeah.
So they just sent all their pathetic ones, and then Burr, it's not a bad move, have the men who are in terrible condition just sit there and hold a river. It's actually a good idea. That way they don't die, they don't get caught in harm's way. I don't think Burr anticipated on what Ladislaus is about to do. So, or he's hoping he wouldn't do that, and he didn't think that would actually happen. So,
well, you still want to equip your soldiers to the where they won't die by frostbite.
Well, I mean, he did equip them though. He's the King's Own. The King's Own. He equipped the professional army with what they needed. The vassals are not under their. It's to a certain degree, they're not even under the jurisdiction, right? The King's Own are literally the King's professional army, whereas the vassals are the lords, or like the lords of Midderland's army and things.
The feudal lords. I know.
Yeah.
But I like how this has been set up well with the Lord. I think it's something that Bayat says in itself, where the government squeeze the lords, and then the lords, in return, like shirk on their duties.
Right, that's from the blade itself, right? When they're in
Yeah.
Najwa. Yeah.
So this has been built up to the fact that these levies are going to be absolutely fucking, underprepared.
Shite. Yeah, and these guys don't want to be here,
Nah, they don't want to be there.
And that's what makes it kind of sad.
And he has this like very modern viewpoint on saying like marching these men with no clothes, no weapons, not enough food, too cold, fight in some like foreign country with people that they don't really have a quarrel with in the first place.
Right.
Well,
originally, it's
right?
a very like modern perspective.
Like the
It
whole vassal system was, you're supposed to protect your homeland, right? Oh, rise up your arm, grab your stuff, protect your homeland. The Lord has called upon you to make sure your fields aren't fucking burned. And that would make sense for a long time in the Union. It's probably why it worked fine in Midderland. If an army invaded, we're going to kick them off our island and shit. And as time has gone on, the levy's just been used as like cannon fodder. And it's made the lords pissed off, made the people pissed off, and it's gotten worse and worse over time, fighting in foreign wars and stuff.
Okay. Well, West, like you said, West is having this like you said, this viewpoint that's pretty modern, and he's right. Ladislaw is not a leader that will inspire conviction. Let's just say he's not inspirational, and he runs into Jallenhorn, and Jallenhorn proceeds to shit on West Day even more by letting him know that there isn't a Smith in the whole goddamn camp. West is like,
and I like how he says nobody checked, and it was like, who's checked? It's like, shit, I was meant to check.
He has to do everything though, organizational-wise, which I can't really blame Wes for forgetting something.
Yeah.
So yeah, but they do remember that they passed a penal colony not far back. So West decides that they'll just grab some from there. They gotta have something, right? Some people.
Yeah.
They head over there, and it turns out it's run by the Inquisition. It's one of those places that when someone like when Glocta sent Ruse to England, this is like one of the places they would go, right? Something like that. And the man in charge there is Inquisitor Lawson. Lawson, you could say, initially balks at the idea of giving him anyone, but West does his usual, "I'll murder you if you don't listen to me, bro." And Lawson acquiesces, but more to the point that like West threatened to send for his men, and Lawson can write to the Archlector, and who will get there first, obviously,
Yeah.
And I think it's important to point out what the penal colony is. The penal colony is there's a whole bunch of camps that the Inquisition runs, and this is honestly a good and terrible. It's a good idea on a with if there was no morals in the universe. Morally, this is terrible, but in terms of efficiency and getting rid of people you don't want to have and still using them effectively, penal colonies are like mining camps and storage camps and whatever camp the king needs directly under the control of the Inquisition. And they actually, in that one, the one that they go to, Lawson states that they create farming tools. They make farming tools, which is very smart because, obviously they have to be made somewhere, and then the Union actually makes money off of that, off of them making those farm tools and stuff. So, but the situation in the camps are terrible. They have kids there. They send whole families. They don't give a shit. They just send bodies there, and then they don't care if they die.
Who knew that Harrison was pro gulag / pro prison labor?
One must not waste.
You did say that if there were no morals in the universe, it's a good idea. So it's
nice little caveat.
Great. Now Jeff is going to cut that part out. wait. Harrison's pro gulag. I'll see a whole bunch of like memes of my face in a Hitler costume and shit. Like, Jesus, what have you done, Jeff?
Oh. No, but thank you for giving us the background of like what's the purpose of this, this penal colony.
Penal colony. Re-education.
Re-education camp.
And it's also important to note this is where Glocta's people when he says off to Angland, whoever,
right,
is where they come.
Yeah, exactly.
Fact,
one of those places. It's about like
Wes even notices a pair of siblings.
Yeah, he realizes that there are kids, families even at the colony, and not a fan of that, right?
So I was just saying that there is a there's a young girl and a boy holding her hand, and I just felt like maybe even though he might have At this point, I don't think he actually has
Oh.
that planned out because that's way too far. I don't think Joe, but I like how it's not a wasted moment in that part. Him noticing
Yeah.
also has other things. I don't know. I just like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I saw after reading the whole series and you see that you're like, oh.
I like that.
Wait. Hold on. You're talking about the two children holding two dirty children stared at West from the porch? That one?
Yep.
Doesn't say if they're boy or girl.
Oh, I just like to pretend they are. Oh, damn it, Harrison.
You see what you want to see, bro.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You might be.
But we see like these horrible conditions, all full of mud, frozen. Nobody's got enough clothes. It's kind of like the way the levees are, to be honest. But
mhm.
I kind of like that parallel though. The levees in the same situation as these prisoners.
Right. And yeah, like you said, and there's families even at the colony, and Wes, you could tell he disapproves, but Lawson does a pretty good job of I would say like putting him in his place. Like he's got a job to do. Who takes care of him? You over here. You live in Adjua. You live in nice quarters. I'm out here with them in this cold ass area. Look at the fuck. Don't
Yeah,
give me that shit.
actually, I
Yeah.
love that monologue from Lawson because it's very much like, yeah. I mean, I'm just doing my job, but also, would you do any better? Like Lawson actually, he likes to, not likes doing his job probably. He knows how to do his job, and it's not like he doesn't have a heart because it's fucked up, but at the same time,
I don't know.
let's think about this. There's a certain moral boundary here that's really gray, which is basically prison warden, right? He does what he can with what he has in his budget to make the lives for his prisoners easier without actually releasing them and making them have better lives. And I don't think it's right, but I'm just saying, like, I like that they show that perspective. That it's not like this, oh, you run the prison, you must be evil. And so it's like, he's like, no, bro, like, chill. He's like, I'm doing my job, but also I make sure they don't kill each other. I make sure that they have clothes and things like that. It's obviously a shitty condition, but I'm just saying, I really appreciate the fact that that's not something where it's like, oh, Lawson must be a terrible, evil person. I mean, he's part of the system, but aren't we all?
Okay. So I mean, after Lawson does this monologue, they enter the foundry, the Smith's shack or whatever, and West, they ask like who can work metals, and there's this guy that comes up. He has this, severely burned face. His name is Pike, and he says he can work metals, and then West asks if he can choose like the people that he knows that can do some forging as well. So then Pike goes ahead and grabs the best workers for him. And then as Lawson like is distracted, Pike sidles up to West, right? And he's like, "Hey, can you take one more person?" And they present it as it's his daughter Cathal, and this Cathal reminds West of Artie, and he's like, "Oh, all right, fine, take her. I'll take her." And then Lawson's like, "No." And then
Can't take her just because she's hot, bro. What the hell?
Yeah. And then West is like, "Oh, dude, do we really need to go? I'm taking her. That's it." And then Lawson's like, "All right, I can't stop you, but maybe one day you come here." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Before we say the chapter's over, do you guys want to talk about that little right there, that part where from West picking the Smith workers and Cathal and Lawson?
No, I think it's okay. I think it's the one bit I really like is he says "devils in hell" again, which he's already said when he's had his little flashback. I was talking to Ladislaw earlier.
Right.
So again, there's these two sort of like parallels between the first half and the second half of the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like that, but the rest of it is fairly straightforward.
Yeah. Right. Harrison, you good?
I mean, I'll throw it in here along with my ranking of the thing, as this whole chapter is really done really well. I think it's probably, it might be my favorite West chapter in the whole series because it just illustrates his character very well, and it shows the kind of situations he's put in and why he is good at handling certain situations. It shows his emotional baggage, both from his sister and from his family, and also from the war. Whenever Ladislaw was talking about, oh, you went through the breach at Oriok, he like is sitting there like getting PTSD thinking about all the men he's climbing over dead. He's just screaming and killing people, and it shows that he all the problems he's never actually dealt with. West is all up front, and he has all of his how he handles things hidden away, all of his emotions, and that's why he has his outbursts, because he doesn't know how to deal with his issues, because probably no one was ever there for him to actually deal with those problems. And I feel like whenever I read this chapter the first time, I was like, now I feel like I actually understand what kind of person West is because of this chapter. So I'll give this 8 out of 9, simply because it is a pretty normal chapter. It's not like the best chapter in the book, I don't think, but it's for West's character, I think it might be the best chapter for him.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have to give it the same score as well. It's like I said, the first and second half of the chapters are almost complete opposites of each other. First half is us having a laugh at how stupid Ladislaw is, and West having a look at all he has to oversee. And then when he comes to the camp where there's the same problems, he still criticizes Lawson. I think this is like a really interesting sort of way of looking at his character.
Yeah, he's quite hypocritical, but it also highlights how good he is at like getting things done as well.
Definitely. What about you, Jeff?
I was gonna give it.
Jeffrey's like, I always thought this was an old chapter. Holy shit!
I was gonna give it a 6 and a knuckle. I'm gonna stay with that score because your man ain't no bitch. Your man ain't no bitch. But I enjoyed it. Thought it was a great chapter. It's fun to read. Yeah, and I do get that. West's character development here. It moves ahead leaps and bounds. It does. I just thought it was worthy of a 6 and a knuckle. So
also, we gave a high score because Ladislaw. The first half is just so funny. I always fucking just bust up laughing the whole time I'm listening.
Pacey makes it much more funnier.
Yeah,
like if you just reading it on the page, you could tell like, oh, this kid's like he's like a little petulant child or whatever. But when you
this
listen
dude's like fucking 30 years old, bro, and he's like, I made out chomping at the bit, Captain. Instead he didn't say Captain. We just say it so much to ourselves. That was off the pod.
Chomping at the bit. Oh, okay. So that was our score for this chapter. We're gonna jump right into the best meme of the week, which is our next segment. George, take it away.
Yes. So this week it's user on Reddit Ferrer333. That meme from Lord of the Rings, the Bilbo bag. After all, why not? Why shouldn't I listen to the blade itself again? Which is a situation that I've been in many times, having finished reading The Wisdom of Crowds, and I'm just like, what should I read next? Fuck it. Just started again.
It's gonna stop me.
So yeah, that's brilliant. Very relatable. Thank you very much, Ferrer333.
Thank you for that meme of the week, George. Now we'll move on to our second chapter read through, and it's Rain. And this chapter begins with the perspective of our boy, Giselle Dan Luther. And
he's just being a whiny bitch.
Whiny bitch. Because he's reflecting that he used to like storms back in Najwa, right? As they ride across the plains. But now he realizes that those weren't storms compared to what they're going through now. They're essentially dealing with a monsoon from the sound of things, right? And our boy is miserable. And his expensive clothes aren't doing anything to keep him dry or warm at all. It's just a fucking waste of money.
Yeah.
And then he's complaining to Baez, and he's like, "Can't you do something?" And then Baez shuts him down.
Yeah.
He's like, "What? You think I'm enjoying this? Fuck, I look like."
I'm not a weather wizard.
That isn't my forte. And then Logan, like, he sidles up and he's like laughing at the storm as if it's nothing, because by the way, Logan took off his coat and his shirt. He's just bareback naked, at least, from the top up. Wait,
on the waist up. Rain.
He loves the rain. And Giselle's slowly coming to realize that might actually been the smart move, because you can't get any wetter than Giselle is already, and your nipples won't be chafed.
Yeah.
Let's not get on the nipple topic again.
Oh, we don't want to do that again? Okay.
What does a chafed nip
feel like? It sucks.
You said you suck? It
No, it sucks if you get a chafed nipple.
Oh, okay.
Harrison, do you have nipples?
I actually, I fucking
No.
physically looked down. I fucking physically just looked down at myself. What the hell? What have you made me become? You guys aren't even here.
And you know, but Giselle is like annoyed that Logan like keeps giving him advice, like you have to be realistic, and he calls him a primitive under his breath though, and Kwai hears it. You know, Kwai's right next to him. He's like, "Listen, you'll be glad to have Logan around if there's a fight brewing, since you know Logan's the most feared man in the North. He killed more men than the plague." Blah blah blah. And then Giselle's like, "I wouldn't be scared. I'm not scared."
Couldn't scare
like,
me.
He's like, well, my dick's bigger.
Yeah. And then Kwai is thoroughly unimpressed. Like, yeah, right, buddy. Sure. And then he leaves him behind when Giselle freaks out because lightning flashes across the sky. and then Giselle starts reminiscing about Audie, his one true love.
Women.
Women. And he gets too sad about this, though. He gets too sad reminiscing, and he notices Pharaoh looking more miserable than he is. So he rides up to her in a brilliant move to start up some conversation. How does this work? Guys?
he goes up to her and he's like, oh yeah, maybe her voice will be nice.
The fuck do you want?
Yeah, he's basically like, oh, I bet they don't have a lot of weather where you're from, a lot of rain. And she's like, what did she fucking say?
She goes, are you going to shut your fucking mouth or do I have to hurt you? And then he drops back and he mutters
crazy
like,
bitch.
Crazy bitch. And I love this part about Joe. He goes, she could keep her misery. He wasn't about to start wallowing in self-pity. That wasn't his way at all. Yeah, right.
Yeah. The thing about that too, that comes right after the line. I don't want to miss this line either because I think it's very important for Giselle's character. Is he's sitting there thinking about like how he realized that maybe he was the one. He is actually a burden. That nobody actually likes him. He's kind of a cunt, and he's like, oh. And then right before he goes up and talks to Pharaoh, he said that he was glad it was raining so much that way no one could see him crying.
No.
And because he's so lonely, and then which is sad. But then right after that, he says he's not one to self-pity.
Oh, yeah, he's reminiscing about all the nice mornings in Adjo the little things he complained about, and he's like, "Fuck, I wish I never complained about that stuff."
Yeah. This is where we start to see Giselle. I mean, we see a little bit of it in the Blade itself, but Giselle is somebody who has to go through. He has to learn the hard way.
Oh, yes,
which
he does.
Realize that he's kind of a loser and that he's lonely and his skills are useless. And
Yeah.
And it's sad though. I mean, crying in the rain.
Just imagine him sitting there on his horse and everyone knows, but nobody wants to say anything, and he's just like, fucking hell.
Like, oh, he's going through it. So there's a bit of a time jump, right? And then they come across the aftermath of like a bloodbath, a merchant party that must have been attacked by vagabonds, vagrants, villains, something with the V. I like alliteration. And Giselle, he had never seen a dead body before, and he is starting to feel uncomfortable and nervous and worried. He's like looking around. He's like, "Oh fuck, are they near us?" And then he's trying to like get control of his stomach. It's roiling. He's like, "Oh fuck, no." He's like, I got this. Because everybody else is discussing like, oh, there were the tracks, how many people were in the party, all this stuff. They're surrounded by all these bodies. And Giselle's like, he's like looking down. He's like looking at nothing. And then he looks back.
He's trying to like get himself under control.
Yeah, and he's like, I got this.
And he looks back and fucking Pharaoh's just got her like wrist up in a fucking body, and he's like,
he immediately yaks, because like you said, she's got her wrist up in a body just so she could be like, oh, it's cold, they probably been dead since like this morning. And she takes the arm out and it's just covered in gore. It says, and then Giselle's literally like, yeah. He's trying to get off the horse. I hope the horse didn't get any vomit on him. And then Logan comes over and he comes over to give him some water. And Giselle's like perplexed by this because it's actually a kind gesture. He's like, from him? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, what the heck?
And we know, like, having seen Logan's perspective, that it's like, he couldn't be more wrong. Logan he just wants to be buddies with everyone.
Right. Logan's just trying to like build trust, remember? From what he said earlier. And then Bias is like, all right, we're gonna have to turn off the track soon. If how close are we to this town, the city Darmium?
Darmium. Yeah.
Darmium. And then he's like, all right, well, we gotta turn off the track soon. And then Longfoot is like, all right, well, we could take this bridge. And he's like, nope. That bridge has been destroyed. He's like, okay. And what about this bridge? Nope, because that town is
God loves to test his faith.
yeah. And he goes, we may have to ford the river. And Bias is like, nobody. and then he's like, what do you, I don't understand what you want us to do. And he's like, Bias goes, well, there's one more bridge. And then Longfoot's like, what the fuck?
Everyone's like, wait a minute.
No.
Yeah.
And they're like, AUKUS. And then they're all like, wait a minute. They're like, who said, doesn't Logan go like, Logan goes, I said that place was a ruin. And then Pharaoh even is like, a shattered graveyard.
Yeah.
Shuttle graveyard.
Thought you said no one goes within miles of the goddamn place. What the fuck? And he's like, look, we have no other choice. This is the only bridge that we can take, and we can't ford the river because of all the rains. So we're gonna go. So they all head out. And then Giselle's like, shouldn't we bury these bodies? And then Pharaoh's like, yeah,
Bury them in puke.
Just roast the shit out of him.
Oh no. And that's where we end this chapter with Giselle just being owned by Pharaoh. Oh, like even Kwai is like whatever with these bodies because he's from the old empire, so he's probably seen a bunch of crazy shit.
Yeah, he's definitely from the old empire.
Mm-hmm. So, so yeah, that was our chapter. That's Rain.
I was just gonna give it a rating. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you though.
No, I was asking you. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say honestly, I like this little moment where Giselle's having a little pity party because it's like, yeah, that's right, bitch. And Pharaoh's got some banger like fucking roast, and it's nice to know what direction they're going. But honestly, it's probably the worst chapter so far in terms of like compared to all the other chapters, especially in the Before the Hang. And so it's just like, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 9. Obviously, it's still entertaining, it's still great, but it's not really that, it's whatever. You could almost do without it.
I think you're absolutely right. I'm three because it's exactly like you said. It's just some character building, and then basically the only thing that happens is they're not going over the bridge here. We're going over the bridge somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but just the fact that you can insert so much character when there's no plot at all. It's very, very clever. So
yeah, and there's also that I like that moment too where Logan is doing his hearts and minds thing where he's like trying to get them to like get everybody along with each other, and he helps. He is very nice to Giselle. I like that's kind of a sweet moment for Logan and Giselle because he's like, Logan hands him the water skins. He's like, oh yeah, it must have been that food this morning. Like he backs him up there like a wingman.
Yeah.
And then Logan, Giselle was smart enough to realize that he did that, and he's like, wait a minute. he's like all cautious. He's like, wait, there's something going on here.
Yeah, I'd give this a 3 out of 9 as well. It's just like a filler chapter. I mean, it's good because it keeps us apprised of like their progress in their journey. But I mean, they just were in a storm, and then they saw dead bodies, and now they're out. So I guess what the point of this chapter is to illustrate from Giselle's perspective the possible beginning of some introspection going on.
Well, to me, in my mind, though, he's already been going through that since the blade itself.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a different scenario, and whereas in Adra, he was always surrounded by the people he knew, and like he might have like thought back. He only really introspected when it came to Artie, right? That
Yeah.
he's an ass of a man. But did that mean he behaved better around West or Jallenhorn or Caspa or Brent? No, and he still looks down on Logan, Baez, Farrow, everybody. He still looks down on them. And then here, I think, is the very beginning of where he realizes that he is out of his element. That he probably realizes he's had a very easy, soft life, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Uh-oh." So, I feel like this is where the cogs in that sense start to turn just a bit.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So, boom. Still 3 out of 9 though. So we'll move on to our character spot. Who wants to
Bam, 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 bam. Yeah. So our character spot.
We should introduce some EDM music for this. Or reggaeton. We should do some reggaeton. Go ahead.
Oh
Ears.
god, we're not turning into one of those podcasts.
No.
It's all like crappy sounding too, like low quality.
It's like okay.
So our character spot for this week is none other than Inquisitor. Now it's weird because in the audiobooks it says Lawson.
Yeah, Lawson.
But it's that's
Lawson.
because
You're British.
Yeah.
You pronounce your O's weirdly.
No, they pronounce it correctly. They pronounce it correctly, Jeffrey. We pronounce
it's an O. Oh, Lawson.
No,
They go Lawson. That's an ah. That's an ah.
Dude, it's an AR. What are you talking about?
It's
Lawson.
OR.
Oh, it's OR. Yeah, Lawson.
Yeah, Lawson. God damn it, you're the Adeptus Historical, Harrison. You're supposed to be on top of these things.
Not for real life.
Not for real.
Shit.
Oh, shit.
Anyways, he's at first you kind of think he's a no sense character, and you're just like, oh, he's okay. He runs the camp, but this guy's got a little bit of flavor, a little spice to him. He's like, fuck you, Wes. He's like, listen. He's like, you didn't take the moral high ground with me. Are you serious? Like, look at you. You're over there fucking fighting. Like, you're fighting a war and shit, and I'm over here taking care of people, and it's a war for you, and probably incorrect. But I understand where he's justifying his own actions. But I like that he is, because I mean anybody else would be doing the same thing. Like if you had that job, you'd probably be like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure these people are at least taken care of. Make sure they don't kill each other, rape each other. I'm gonna go through that process, even if what your actual position is probably not the best one. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that is true, and it is sort of like, it's the only following orders, isn't it? That's what it basically. But we can see from this perspective, these things are going to be happening, whether or not he's there.
Right.
So the fact that he's probably, like you said, he's probably fucked up somewhere, and to be put in this position anyway, and all he can do is the best that he can to kind of help them.
Mm-hmm. I think it's part of like the, I don't say rite of passage, but it might be the progression, because Glockta said he went to England too when he first joined the Inquisition.
True.
He was under Goyle, so I think that's they start out as, like, I guess maybe you could say penal colony runners, like they run the colonies, and then if they do well, then they move up into just actually inquisiting, Glockta. And then and then possibly move up from there. I feel like that's how it is. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think that would make.
Yeah. So, yeah, Lawson, he's a unique character, and we see him more than once throughout the series.
Yes,
we
do.
We do see him a long time in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like how he does that. Characters do progress. They are only in it for a few chapters at a time.
Yeah, there's certain characters in the background, and we'll see lots of them throughout the series, and it is cool to see them go through that.
Mm. Mm-hmm. And I also like his like threat towards West at the end, where he's like, maybe you'll find yourself visiting more permanent.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit!
And now I have a lesson.
Yeah. I like how, and we don't end the chapter with Wes like rebutting, like with a rebuttal. He just, that's it. The chapter ends off of Lawson's threat. And I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Boss.
I just appreciate that. It wasn't just like the main character says, "Oh, this is morally wrong," and they're like, "Yes, but I have a job to do." Like he gave him a whole monologue of like, "Listen."
Yeah.
I like that he put the time into that. That's nice.
Absolutely. It could have very easily just fallen into that trope of, main character disagrees with this and then does the right thing. He's going to free all the prisoners and like, you know what I
He
mean?
frees all of them.
Could
Yeah.
very easily just been that instead. If this was a Brandon Sanderson book, that's what this would have been.
Yeah.
Oh, shots fired.
He's like, you know what? I'm going to take all of the blacksmiths. That's right. What are you going to do to stop me?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that it didn't venture into that kind of territory, to be honest. Would have been a little bit cheap, but good thing Joe's better than that. All right. Well, thank you for that character spot. Appreciate it. We'll move on to our third chapter read through, Bloody Company. And we begin this chapter with our favorite Northmen, our favorite group from the Dogman's perspective. And, they're doing some writing. They're doing some scouting for West, you could say. And Black Dow is, how do we say, bitching. He's bitching about everything.
He's always bitching.
Yeah. He's bitching about the fact that they're just writing and doing errands for the union. He talks about how even like the union is soft, like pig fat.
And huge rant.
Yeah, huge rant. And then he talks about each of them are named men deserving of like better tasks and the like. He goes up to Dogman, says that you came out with the Bloody Nine. You were his closest, tall dude, biggest man in the West, the North. Blah, 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 blah. Grim, best hand with a blade and an arrow, right? And then he goes even to Three Trees, the Rock of Ufrith, and he isn't having it. He's just like, boy, I am tired. I don't want to hear you bitching.
Just got a job to do. Let's fucking just do it. Just shut up.
And Dow takes it well. He goes, fair enough, Chief, fair enough. It's just a shame, that's all.
That's all I'm saying. It's just
every single time you're like blacked out, just stop being ridiculous. And everyone's like, he's like, all right.
Yeah.
All right, good point.
Right. Like, I remember, more than once, like, Dogman is like, uh-oh, someone just said that to Dow. He's going to lose his mind. And then Dow immediately just goes, all right, cool. Yeah, no problem. I want to say something. I noticed this when I was doing the reading on this. Who was it? It was Harrison or George that you said that one of you guys thinks that Three Trees didn't like Logan or didn't really respect him, right? I forget what it was.
Yeah, no, Blacked Out definitely.
No, Three Trees. I'm talking about Three Trees.
Oh, Three Trees. Yeah. Well, he definitely likes Logan to a certain degree because he knows what kind of person he is, but he also knows what he's capable of.
Right. But I think like from here, right here, the world ain't how I'd like it in all kinds of ways. Nine Fingers has gone back to the mud. Bethod's made himself king of the Northmen. Shankar fixing to come swarming over the mountains.
Okay, I see what
So from here, he's listing the things that he wished didn't happen. So he's wishing Nine Fingers didn't die. So that means there has to be at least, it's more positive than neutral than I think his relationship with Logan.
I can stand to be proved wrong.
No, and I honestly definitely agree with the fact that he wants Logan to be around. My whole thing is like, it's not like he doesn't dislike Logan. He just is wary of. He knows what he's capable of. Whereas the Dogman is much more passive with it and just pretends like he doesn't know. I feel like Three Trees is wise enough and old enough to know. Yeah, I like Logan as a person. Whenever Logan's trying to be good, he's great. But he also knows that Logan can be complete a-hole. and he is more willing to do something about that than Dogman is. That's what
I get that. Okay. All right.
Because he's got bigger balls.
He's got bigger balls. He's got balls.
That's why they call him the Rock of
Ufrith.
More like the rocks of Ufrith.
The stones of Ufrith. Okay, so there's a bit of a time jump as well. And then they come across 3 Northmen in the clearing. So they make a plan to take them out because they're like, we can't leave them behind us, right? We got to figure out who they're scouting for. So they come up with a plan and they do it well enough, but Dogman didn't realize or remember what Three Trees was specifying when he said,
very
shoot
relatable.
the guy on the left.
Yeah.
Because he told Dogman shoot the guy in the left and told Grim to take the other guy, but Dogman had to circle around them, so the guy on the left is actually on his right. So
I love whenever there's one of these fights, it's always Dogman. He's like, shit, what was the signal again? Or shit, is it left or right? I can't remember.
So yeah, and so they end up shooting the same guy. Grim and Dogman shoot the same guy. Dow he jumped on the guy in the middle first, and that left one guy. So Dow had to take care of him too. But and the guy was able to shout for help before getting murked, as we would say. And Dow, I like the part where it's like Dogman looks at Dow. Dow gets up and he's just like has this face like, you motherfuckers.
I know.
But then Dogman realizes that there are two more Northmen right near him. They heard the guy shout for help. He takes one out with an arrow, but then the other guy was able to close in on him, and they start struggling with the knife. They're wrestling, and the guy has the knife positioned towards Dogman's face. It's coming closer, it's inching, and Dogman's like, oh, fuck, until the guy's head just disappears. And that was
he gets blood all in his mouth and his nose and that. It's like,
and that's courtesy of Tol Duru, thanks. And Three Trees comes up to him. He's like, all right, I'm glad you're okay, but I need you to scout the way these guys came so we can figure out who they're scouting for. A bit of a time jump, and turns out it's Bethod's army. It's the entire army. The biggest army the North has seen so far, they say. And they're like, oh, fuck.
And I love to see, like, right at the beginning of this section, it's like, stupid bloody job, now. It maybe I made a mistake,
Yeah. Could be I made a mistake. Oh man. And then they're like, shit, it's everybody that they see Whitesides, Pale as Snow. They even think, is that Krummicky failed? They're like, nah, not that crazy bastard. And then they're like, what about the idea? They contemplate the idea of trying to assassinate Bethod, but they're like, nah. Like, even if they could get to him, they wouldn't get out. They wouldn't make it out. So Three Trees decides that decides against it, and they're to turn back and to warn West. And they're all like, all right, we all go back, fine. Shame though. He's like, yep, that's a shame. And that's it. That's the chapter.
I love it when they're going over the banners and it's like, oh, is that Krummicky Fails banner? It's like, nah, no chance. Like, there's no chance he's going to fight with them.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, do you know any of those banners, Grim? And he's like,
I.
That's it.
That's it. I didn't even say.
Yeah, they say there's a couple lines in here, lore-wise too, like talk about how they've never seen a bigger army altogether of the Northmen. And they also point out how they can see strange... The flags that they're talking about when they ask Grim that are the flags from out past the Corinna with Wildmen and shit. And,
yeah, of course Grim would know.
Grim, yeah, it probably is from there. Maybe. Who knows? But he needs to know some of the banners. And, yeah, I really like the whole section where Dow was, like, complaining. But, all of it's true. They all know it. They all should be like big names, and even it makes Dogman, whenever they're about to have that little skirmish out there, say, he's like, oh, maybe back in the day we would have been able to take these guys out no problem. He's all second guessing himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, what else do you guys think about this chapter? Any notes or anything?
I like I love the fact that the Dogman is consistently such a relatable character. Like, if you were that guy, he's just so normal. Like, you have all these crazy people like Black Dow and Toldaru, who's like a huge guy, and Three Trees is like a legendary name, and Grim, everybody knows he's deadly and shit, and Black Dow is sneaky, and he's good with organizing armies and things like that. And Dogman's just like, I can scout, but he doesn't even take that. He just is like, I'm just here.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen yet that that's part of his problem as a human, is that he's just like, yeah, I'm just here. But
yeah.
It reinforces that idea. But and it just shows you more of Dow as well. Like, Dow isn't just saying, oh, I used to be a big name. He's talking about all of them as a whole. And he's like, guys, we used to be something. And Three Trees is I like the character that shows for Three Trees, where he's like, listen, life isn't how it's supposed to be. He's just kind of an old man. He's like, I wish my kids were taking care of me. Just shut the fuck up. We're gonna move on. It's just a good moment for those three characters. But to be honest, overall, I probably give it probably a 3 out of 9, just simply because not too much happens. They see Bethod's army and they're like, oh, we have to go do it. But again, it's kind of a filler chapter. They needed to happen, and it's nice to see them. But it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to disagree with Harrison on this one. I think I'm gonna go up to a 6 because I think this, and to some extent the previous 2 chapters, they kind of represent Joe's sort of getting better with his pacing.
That's true.
Because if instead of having a lot of really long chapters where it's one character doing certain things, they're all mixed together. There's lots of different things happening, even at this very early stage of the book.
I liked it.
So I reckon, nice 6.
I love the Northmen, so I'm gonna give it a 6 as well, a 6 out of 9. Just because the characters, I just love all of them, and I enjoy it. And I agree, George, that you said it's like a shorter chapter doesn't necessarily mean are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, my computer just went to sleep. So, a shorter chapter doesn't mean
bad. No, definitely
bad or a waste of a chapter. I like that we could see. Again, we talk of the history of each character's history. The names, how they got their names, or the weight it carries. Each of their names. But they're still gonna put their head down and just do the job, even though except for Dow, he'll bitch, and then they find out that Bethod, his army, is about to go at Ladislaw's army, and we get a sense of oh, this is what they mean when Bethod said he's where you never expect him to be. Fuck. Yeah. We the reader are oh, okay.
And that was right after Wes is like, God, I hope he's not over here.
All those prayers and sacrifices, they were all for naught, Wes. Sorry. We're gonna get to see the culmination of that relatively soon. It's gonna be so much fun.
To be clear as well, if you guys notice, I'm actually not the biggest fan of the Northern chapters. I don't know why. I just never liked them as much as all the other chapters. Even though I love Blacked Out and I really like Three Trees, and all the Northmen are great characters for the time of the time on the pages that they get, I just don't like them as much as the others. Whereas you guys love them a lot more. So I typically give those chapters lower. I just don't enjoy it as much. I don't know why.
Harrison's xenophobic. He's xenophobic.
I only prefer the Union chapter.
The Northerners. I couldn't be bothered.
One Union man is worth 10 of their kind.
Yeah. That's right. That's gonna work out real well. Yeah. Yeah. So, that's the 3rd chapter read through. Now we'll move on to our community interaction segment.
The fucking horns.
All right, so we did in honestly very good timing, might I say for myself. We did the best general last week, and some people were like, "Well, what about Nikamo Koska?" Blah, blah. I'm like, okay, we'll do a worst general. And so I put it up here, and I enjoy putting it up here because I almost left Prince Ladislaw out, and people were like, "Ladislaw is just so bad; he doesn't even count." But the thing is, that's the point, isn't it? Said he is a general. And he is that bad. I mean, rightfully so.
He does have command of the army, technically. So
he got as many votes as there are in the day of the year. Or days in the year, 365. And they, again, everybody who participated. It's always fun seeing your comments. Sometimes they're funny. In the inside of the worst general list, we put Leo Dancock, Lord Governor Meade, the one of the heroes. I mean. Jalenhorm, yes, he's still a good man. Nikomo Koska and Stour Scheitfall. Oh yeah, and Prince Ladislaw. The top comment was capital. Rightfully so.
Once again, with 5 times as many upvotes as the actual post got. Brilliant.
Yeah, Prince Ladislaw got 365 votes. Leo got 51. Lord Governor Mead and Jallenhorn got equal amounts, which is ironically kind of perfect, seeing as they were both kind of shit generals in the heroes. Nikoma Koska, some people were like, "Oh, Koska's actually pretty good if he's sober," but that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, he's never sober.
Yeah, and he's okay if he's sober. We're talking about he's probably the best out of these ones if he's sober. So that's a big caveat there. Stour Shitefall, we don't see him do that much, and really he's not that good. He's just like, charge. Lord Governor Mead is too caught up being racist, and Leo, I'm pretty sure Leo is he's okay, but I just love that people were like, I'm picking him. I know he's not the worst, but out of spite.
Yeah, I picked him out of spite. Oh, I love it.
Oh, it was pretty good. A lot of people were like, "Oh, Ladislaw shouldn't be on it," but I mean, he should be. He is a general.
Sorry.
And there were some really good ones on here. Okay, there were some really good comments. Somebody was like, I told him I was going to highlight him on here too because it was hilarious. What does he say here?
I've just read that one as well.
Yeah.
Smart as Stolicus and brave as General Glock, to a shame that he died.
Yeah. Ragnar Industrialist says, like, boo, like, at people calling out Ladislaw bad, and then he's like, what do you mean? He leads a third of the Union's troops in the Northern War. He's a general, right? Smart as Stolicus, brave as Corner Glocka. Shame that he died. He was the rock of the Union defense. He was the hinge that shut the Union door closed, defending England against the barbarians up north. It's just funny. He actually put Angmar, which is ironic since Lord of the Rings. Angmar's up in the north. We don't have proof, but we can be quite certain that he died protecting Lord Marshal West, winner of the tournament, first through the breach of Oriok, victor of the Northern War, savior of Adra. There's no other way this titan of war would have ever died. Oh, he fully committed. I fucking love it. If we ever have somebody do our like some kind of propaganda, he should be the one. We'll reach out. Oh, it was great. You guys have anything to add for the poll?
Nah, it was fun. Obviously, Ladislaw was going to sweep today.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest lead that we've had so far on any of the poll.
Yeah, it definitely. And also, it was definitely the funnest poll. I think this one. There's no hatred here. It's all fun and games.
That's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you all know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot to us.
Join us next week as we cover Long Shadows, and next, My Gold and Fear.
And make sure you follow us on social media. We are Circle of the World, and one of these days I am going to get around to updating that website.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app that you use. And please make sure to rate and review this podcast as it helps to spread our reach. Thank you all again for listening.
Good and fit, chomping at the bit.